Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, welcome to New Life Live. Really glad you're here and joining me, and I'm really glad they're there. Dr. Jill Hubbard and Mylan Yurkovich. Hi, guys.
Hey, Steve. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hi, guys.
And we're really glad you're there.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to talk about something because spring is here, right?
Pretty close.
And people say, well, that must be a great time of year for everybody. Actually, no. People get really depressed. And I think it could be because they expect when the seasons are changing, everything's going to be better for them and all that. And then it's just not happening. And they kind of feel a lift on the part of other people, but you don't feel it so much yourself. And so it is normal. It happens. And so to people that struggle, it doesn't just always get better in the spring. And a lot of suicides tend to go up. And so let us help you rather than struggle alone. We really can help you at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But I know a lot of people with seasonal affective disorder, you think, well, this is going to do it, but it really absolutely does not.
It lingers.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the calls because we have calls right here. I want to talk with David from Dallas, Texas, and see what David has to say as soon as the folks there there we go. David, how are you? How can we help?
Good. Yes, hi. Got a quick question here. So I'll give you a quick little background. So I've been married coming up on 20 years, and the first 16 years I was addicted to porn.
Okay.
And about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, that has been gone. So I've been, I guess you should say, sober for 3 years. No setbacks, no triggers, no, all that stuff. Totally clean, 100%.
Good for you.
I had, yeah, thank you. I would have what I call a spiritual awakening, literally. So that's kind of my past. So my question is, with my wife going forward, over the past 3 years, she thinks now that basically I've replaced her with the addiction that I used to have. So I enjoy having sex with my wife and so forth and so on. And to her, I guess that's kind of like scary for her in a way, because she thinks that maybe I'm wanting her too much.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, how often is normal? How do we go forward with her? And how can I make her feel like, she's not just a replacement for my old ways?
Yeah. Well, I think you've called the right place, and I think the answer doesn't really lie in what's normal, although we could tell you what the national average is. Mylan, you want to start with this? Mylan and I talk about this in our in our intimacy and marriage intensive.
Sure, I would be happy to do that, Steve. By the way, David, this is a great question, and I think that your wife's worry is legitimate. And here's the key. Pornography, you're looking at an object. It's a female actor who is an object of your focus and attention. And I'm going to cover this a little bit more after the break. But for you to begin seeing your wife as a person with a mind, will, and emotions, and a physiology that is different than yours, and asking her to help drive that bus as to the frequency, etc. And we'll comment more on this right after the break.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop March the 27th. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't benefit from emotional freedom. We're all bound or stuck or struggling in some area. What are we going to do there, Chris?
Just really help people get clarity around the places where they're stuck in their life. They sort of circle the same mountain of disappointment over and over and over again. You're going to be able to see that mountain clearly and get to a new place of what we call emotional freedom, which is simply I can feel in the world, build a relationship to it, and know what to do with my experiences.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Workshop will be held online Saturday, March 27th. Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams will present information on trauma, depression, codependency, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or register online at newlife.com. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back and really glad that David has found some freedom from pornography. But as I think everybody comes to discover, it just doesn't all go away instantly. You have two people in that relationship. Mylon, what are your thoughts? You were headed off there, and I want to hear what your thoughts are.
I think we have to realize that pornography is non-relational sexual involvement. It's non-relational. It's with an object.
Right.
And when I move from non-relational sexual activity to relational sexual activity, this is very hard for a lot of people who have never understood or enjoyed or developed relational intimacy that is sexual.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm now having to negotiate with a person, a human being with a mind, will, and emotions who also, and here's one thing we say in our sexual intimacy workshop, and then I want to hear what Jill says. Men have testosterone, which is always on 24/7, 365, and an orgasm to a guy feels exactly the same all the time, et cetera, et cetera. A woman who is menstruating or is used to a 28-day cycle, every one of those 28 days she feels differently about her body, her mind, her emotions, and her sexuality. And sex doesn't feel the same to her all the way around that 28-day cycle. So what you have to realize is I need to find out when and where she's comfortable and give her a lot of say in this. It is not me driving the bus. It is us. And giving her the freedom. Ready, David, to say no, today is not a good day, and for me to be able to accept that.
Right. So, David, it's like you've taken...
Can I say something real quick?
Oh, sure.
Sorry. I totally agree with you. And that's kind of why I'm calling that. We both want to figure out if I'm being too demanding. So to give you a little bit more specific, we have an amazing relationship. And what I told her was, I feel like it's kind of a control thing. In the past, I had 100% control, and now I have zero control. And so my thing is, I don't push her. It's not like I'm demanding for it all the time or anything like that. And so I guess she just gets this feeling that I'm if I'm helping or if I'm driving the kids or if I'm doing the dishes or whatever, that I'm doing it for, selfish reasons or something. And so she's always kind of got this in the back of her mind that I'm trying to work my way into what I want and that, I'm not, I don't know.
Your
sincere.
Yeah, your behaviors are disingenuous and they're manipulative. Okay, that makes total sense.
Right.
So, Jill,
And
what
is
would you
that
say?
true?
Right. It's not true. No. Of course I do want it. Yes, of course. But even today, I was just telling her I was doing the dishes because I was standing by the sink. She thought I was doing it for other reasons. So it's but no, that is not the case. And one thing that we've tried to do, or I've tried to do, is allow her to initiate it. So I'm trying to humble down, as you guys always say. I'm trying to, not be, too much. I feel put myself in pretty good check and keep myself, to where she's in control of the whole situation to make her feel good about it. And at the same time, if there's any kind of weirdness in my voice or if I'm acting weird around her, she thinks that it's because I'm, wanting sex. and that I'm just trying to control my emotions, and that might happen from time to time. But I mean,
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm still a human, you know.
Well, right. And the truth is, yes, sometimes it is about wanting sex, right? But what you're saying to us is that it's not every time. And so there seems
Correct.
I'm thinking, like, I'm wondering what your wife needs to begin to trust you a little bit more, and why she thinks that you are insincere. There's been broken trust there, and that needs to be repaired. So I was starting to say earlier that you've taken a step in the right direction where your focus is your wife, but and Mylan, you kind of addressed this, but if you're approaching sex in a way that's just all about the sexual act, then you are treating her like an object as well. And so it's that emotional piece and asking her and learning, how does she relate to sex, right? Because Mylan, as you were saying, it is very different. And it is different at different times, and it is an emotional connection, right? And so she has to be, there's a lot of factors that have to be in the right place for her to be in the mood. And if at a base level she's not trusting you as a sincere person, that will be problematic. She will have a hard time giving her body to you. And so that's where the repair work needs to happen.
So, Jill, to your point, what if he had a discussion with her about what was it like being married to me all that time, and what
Yes, have you heard her pain? Like,
yes,
you were healed instantly, but she wasn't.
No, that's right. See, and what was her pain? And then, are you ready for this, David? What was her pain before she met you? So many females have been hurt and harmed by males who can't control their testosterone and sexuality, and a lot of women have been harmed by that. And for her to be able to tell you her journey, and then for you to develop emotional conversations, spiritual conversations, conversations about her well-being, conversations. You know, I talk every day to my wife about her art. You know, she's an artist, and I'll ask her what she's working on or what she's learning, and she's taking a class this week, and we have a lot of diversified conversations that embrace the totality of who she is and celebrate that. If a person who's addicted to pornography is an entirely sexually oriented being, they don't have other aspects to them.
Right. And Mylan, you're talking about delighting in your wife's other, interests.
Right.
Right? And getting joy out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do that. I do that, and we work together. I mean, we're literally with each other 24/7, and it's like we have a great marriage. We have a great relationship. I do know her history. I do know her past. You're right. I mean, it was devastating to her, and the way, I never really felt the weight of my sin. She's actually the one that felt the weight of my sin, because she, had this bomb dropped on her. She had no clue what was happening over my past. And so whereas I feel free, she feels like I just had this bomb blow up in my face. I didn't even know was there. So yeah, there's like 1,000 issues going on with her versus me, and how we went forward from that day. Yeah.
Now let me just say this. This is not self-serving. It's actually the best thing I can say to you. If she went to the Restore workshop, she would be able to talk these kinds of things through with a counselor who specializes in this, and she would meet other women who struggle in the same way. If you took the extra step to go to Every Man's Battle, then it's not just you stopping one thing and picking her up. She would be able to see you would change. I'm not saying you're unhealthy. I'm just saying it changes. It's such a mature production day. If you guys both came to intimacy in marriage, it would help. But here's the thing. I think you have a very, very humble, willing attitude. And you're one of the few guys that could reach this state where you say, I don't want obligation sex from my wife. I want this to be a mutual coming together in intimacy. And I know that that's not going to happen just right away. But I'd sure like for us to work toward that, where this is always mutual, not me having a need and you're, okay, I'll fulfill it. And a lot of guys, they'll refer back to the Bible about, don't withhold yourself. Well, that withholding is a dangerous thing. But I like to say to guys, if all you've got is a verse for your wife to be sexual with you and intimate with you, then doesn't that say work needs to be done? And if every guy had your willingness, boy, they would get to experience something far greater than what you're experiencing. So I'm so glad you called. Now, have you ever read Every Man's Battle? Have you ever read that book?
Yes, I read it the day after I basically got caught, and it was huge for me personally. It sat on my shelf for 10 years or something.
Yeah.
Never once opened it. And so when we were, figuring this out, the day one, the bombshell was dropped, I just reached over, grabbed it, and started reading it, and it was absolutely incredible.
Okay. Well,
really opened my eyes.
Awesome. Let me send you the 25th anniversary edition, because it's got brand new stuff in there. I think it's much better. And then I'm going to send you Every Man's Marriage, and I think that's going to help you too. But I really pray that you and anybody that can relate to you would really consider one of these workshops. I mean, really, it's if she goes to Restore, he goes to Every Man's Battle, both go to Intimacy and Marriage. Oh my goodness, the kind of transformation that can produce is quite phenomenal. So 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you want to find out about that. Now let's go from David, and how about we talk with let's talk to Karen from Jacksonville. WTRJ is the station. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you. How are you?
Great, and glad you're with us. How can we help today?
Well, I am desperately trying to get my husband and my son to connect.
Okay.
My son is 14, and my husband's 60. And he's a truck driver, and he's not home a whole lot. And I feel sometimes that he wants me to choose sides, or he feels that I'm taking my son's side when he disciplines him. But I sympathize with him. I don't,
Is this your husband's son also? Is this your husband's son also, or just your son?
It's our son. Yes, my husband's son as well.
And how old is he again?
He's my husband's biological son.
Okay. And how old is he again?
My son?
14?
14.
Did you?
He's 14.
And what kind of discipline is your husband doing with the 14-year-old?
He doesn't hit him, but he talks to him, but some of the things sometimes when he talks to him is not very kind.
Mm-hmm.
So he's hard on him.
Yes, I think so. And sometimes, people will say, well, you need to let him, and when I say people, I talk to, there's two people I talk to, but when I am going or, saying, maybe you could have said that differently, or, he just, like if he's struggling with his grades, just for an example. He's struggling with his grades, and my husband, when he does a particular problem, he'll say, well, that wasn't smart. And then, I defend him and when he says things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So the question for us would be what? I mean, it seems like it's pretty obvious, but what is it that you're hoping we could help you?
Well, I want to try to get them to connect in a way. My son feels, he says, I know that Dad loves me, but I don't think he likes me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was very hurtful. And my husband and I, we have a great relationship. Almost every time we have a disagreement, it's over the way that he, treats my son. And I don't know how this is going to sound, but my husband says he's not spiritual enough, and I tell him, your son definitely has a relationship with God. He, and just pray for him and let God deal with him on that part. He attends virtual church. Most of the time we all do it together, but if we're not out there, he does it on his own. He'll just, start it up and start watching it. And,
Okay.
I sometimes
All right.
feel that if...
You hear the music. I've got to go to a break. I'm sorry to interrupt you there. We'll try to give you some help
No,
right
okay.
after this. You're listening to New Life Live. Glad that you are. If you need some help, it's 1-800-229-37 for the radio program, 1-800-NEW-LIFE to talk to somebody on the phone about some situation you're going through. A lot of resources there, but you have to call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'll be back right after this.
After I found the pornography on the internet, I said, you either get help or I have to leave this household.
Every day, thousands of women discover their husband is struggling with sexual integrity. And since shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect, traffic to porn sites has skyrocketed. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
I believed that I could do it on my own. I just believed if I tried hard enough and pulled myself up hard enough by my bootstraps, I could do it. It was a battle that I'd had all my life. I had to get help.
The Every Man's Battle workshop can be a trip to the sexual addiction emergency room. During this time of social distancing, the Every Man's Battle workshop will be held online Saturday, April 10th. Find sexual integrity, accountability, and connection. Register now to reserve a place at the Every Man's Battle online workshop. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
The single most helpful thing was to realize that I wasn't the weirdest guy on the planet.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEWLIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and we're talking about marriage and talking about how do we try to win over a 14-year-old who's struggling. How do we talk, and how do we do it together as parents on a united front? And what we've heard here from you, Karen, is that, well, other than this, you guys have a pretty decent relationship, but this isn't just about you and him and the relationship. I mean, your son's life really is what needs to be the focus here, and I feel really bad. I'm glad you called us. Jill, how about we start with you here?
Karen, you said that your husband is a truck driver, so he's gone a lot. I'm wondering, first of all, we know that moms and dads deal with kids differently, right? And that dads are less into coddling and more into drawing kids out. But I'm wondering, just on the information alone, that your husband's gone a lot. I would imagine that when he's home, there's a little bit of making up for lost time in perhaps toughening your son up, and it sounds like your husband has some ideals about how he should be as a boy, and maybe doesn't take into consideration the growth process. And perhaps I'm not hearing that he spends time with his son in a non-disciplinary way. And that may be why your son is feeling like, Dad doesn't really like me. if all of their interaction is dad correcting and criticizing and trying to get him to be, grow up a little faster, then yes, your son is not going to respond very well and is not going to feel good and really will have a harder time emulating his dad's version of maleness. So I'm wondering, if you guys do have a good relationship, I would want to listen to your husband and ask him, tell me about your concerns about our son. Tell me about your fears. Tell me what it was like for you at 14 and transitioning and moving towards manhood. Tell me how you feel about being gone so much and not having consistent time with our son. And really get him talking about perhaps what's driving some of this harshness.
Mylon, do you have anything to add to that? That's so good. I mean, it's really important.
Yeah, that was great, Jill. Karen, is your son an only child?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's really important because an only child has a lot of pressure. He's not being compared to siblings and so on and so forth. And he's also, if you will, you and your husband are teenager parent rookies. In other words, you're having to be a parent to a teenager for the first time here. This is new to you guys. And teenagers, it's a very, very unusual time. There's in that child's life. When a child is 2 and when a child is a teenager, the brain does a major reformatting, and it gets rid of a lot of cells, and it's in a process of a major reconstruction zone. Thus, teenagers are impulsive, they are squirrely, they do immature things, they are flaky, they have a hard time.
Fun-seeking.
Yeah, they do all kinds of things.
Pleasure-seeking.
So I think it's less about your son, it's more about your husband. And him, as Jill is saying, what is he doing with him to build closeness and fun? And to begin to listen to your son, what's it like having him as a dad? And what's it like having you as a mom? So, it's really important that we understand what can you expect from a 14-year-old? And we really have to dampen our expectations for high performance.
But this kid is a kid that's watching church on his own.
That's
wonderful.
That's huge, Jill.
That is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge.
But if you're not,
he is a great kid.
But if your husband isn't showing that love is also kind, if he's not being kind to this boy, then he may not want to be watching church very long because he doesn't believe in the validity of the message there. So it's really important that your husband, and I think that's why you're calling. I think it's great, but it really is important that if I were you, I'd be sitting down with him, with somebody, a third party that could help you guys come to a mutual understanding of how we're going to raise this boy. We're going to be kind. We're not going to be yelling and screaming at him and pushing him away.
There's a couple, Steve, to that point, there's a couple of things here. Number one, your husband's used to isolation. Yeah. He's in a truck. Mm-hmm. And, when I'm in isolation, I really have much better control of myself when I'm by myself. I mean, I'm really a nice guy, Karen, when I'm by myself. I don't have any conflict or friction with anybody when I'm all by myself. But when I'm present with other people, that starts to put pressure on me, as it does everyone. Secondly, if your husband is harsh and uses derogatory terms toward your son, I'm not a betting man, but I would bet a lot of money that he was treated harshly as a child as well. Mm-hmm. You can't pull nurturance from a turnip. If a person has been harmed, they're not going to turn into a nurturing person overnight. He needs compassion, and he needs, as Jill was saying, to really look back at his own childhood and ask, what was my childhood like? Steve?
Yeah, we'll be back right after this for more New Life Live. Glad you're with us.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. Larry Sonnenberg's back. Hey. Right there in the studio. There he is.
Right here.
Larry, how are you today?
Beautiful studio. I'm doing really well. Thank you. Hey, yesterday I shared with you a testimony from the last Finding Freedom we've done, and we're doing emotional freedom this. You and Chris are still doing
the workshops.
The workshop.
Emotional freedom workshops?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it's the 27th of March. And here's what a guy said who came last time. I had a breakdown which I didn't expect. Later I rehearsed the moment in my mind. It made me realize I've been a victim far too long. I don't like it, and I refuse to let these things overtake my life any longer. I'll use the tools I was given. The follow-up you offer shows that you didn't just leave us hanging, but how much you care. You instructed us, too, on what to do. People always tell me what we need to do without following up on how to do it. Mm-hmm. People want to do, but often don't. I know now how. You've done just that. I feel empowered to do the things I need to do. I realize it's a process, and I believe I will come through it victorious. You're such a blessing not only to the body of Christ, but to everyone. And you're true to the Word of God. You teach both the natural and the spiritual. I appreciate you all. And I just love that.
Well, I think I'm going to frame that because, that's the dream come true as the founder, that someone would say that. And, the thing that I liked most about what was there, and there was a lot I liked, but he said, I found tools.
Yeah.
You're not a bad person just because you aren't equipped with all the tools it takes to deal with this horrifically different world we live in. But we can help you find those tools.
If you can support financially this organization, knowing that somebody who intersected their lives with ours affirms that we teach both the natural and the spiritual, and we assess everything against the Word of God, and we don't go away from that.
What do you think that means, the natural and the spiritual?
Practical and
that's what I'd say.
The not practical, but theological. Yeah.
The horizontal relationships.
Yeah.
Right?
And also what we learn from the natural world.
Right.
What kinds of things work well, what kinds of things don't.
Yeah.
And you're right, Larry, that a lot of times we hear we're supposed to do this, but we don't know what
how to do
to
it.
accomplish that.
Right.
And so the blessing of God is in the doing of it, not the hearing of it. We
Right.
know that from Scripture. So that's so cool, Steve. What a great report about that workshop.
It is, and I'm looking forward to doing that with Chris the 27th of March, and we'd love for people to come and join us and grab some new tools.
Yeah.
You will. Larry, we need help. We need financial support here.
We do. We are a nonprofit, and we depend upon about 3/4 of our budget on donations. So if you can make a gift of support, we get to continue doing what we do, and God blesses it. The Holy Spirit is moving, and God gets the honor and the glory for it all. So, but we need your support. That's the beginning point.
And don't forget, and I know I say this all the time, but it's really important, Christian radio shows have to pay for their own airtime, whereas other shows don't. The sponsors do that. And so we have a lot of money that goes out every year
Yes, we
here
do.
to pay for radio time. And over all the different stations around the U.S., listen, wherever you're listening to this, the airtime was purchased by New Life. And that's important for you to know.
You know, Mylon, we've had a couple of criticisms and emails lately, like, you charge so much for your workshop. It doesn't cost you that much to do that. And I will respond, and I'll share that we have the call center, we have airtime, we have paying the speakers, we have paying the
therapist,
and they're just on and on, all the different things that we do. And no, people don't stop and think there's overhead beyond what just the workshop day is itself.
Right.
So thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
All right, 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you can help us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or if you need some help, come join us for this emotional freedom workshop. I think it's just going to be the greatest ever. I want to go to Sarah from New York, New York. And Sarah, how are you today? What's going on?
I'm okay. I've been listening to you for a while, and it took a lot of courage for me to call today. So I'm going to start with my question. My question is, am I on the right track? Is this time for us to start couples therapy? So
okay. What's going on?
The scenario is that my husband has been addicted to pornography since 13. He was bullied a lot in school growing up. His dad passed away from over drinking in his early 20s, and even before that, he's emotionally absent and verbally abusive. Mom always bailed him out and enable him to do things, and 8 months ago, he was angry in public and was seen by some police and was arrested. And since then, we're living in separate places. And what I've noticed since I'm separated from him, I was able to think a lot more clearly, and I've noticed some patterns. You know, over the years, he's becoming more compulsive, is always risky, immature, unable to think for himself. So all these years I've been playing the comforter, the rescuer, and trying just a counselor and help him to think and do things for him. And I noticed that I am the rescuer, the codependent in recent years. I'm trying to stop that. There's also a problem with authority. You know, he had trouble sustaining jobs in the past, and he always says that somebody is jealous of me, they don't like me, and he's irresponsible.
Okay, let me interrupt you here. So let me interrupt you because I think we get the picture. It's really rough. Now, is he still using pornography all the time?
I am not sure because I don't even ask anymore, because every time we're having minimal contact right now, and he would text me. But even when he texts me, he often drop like a very heavy emotional baggage, and it's mixed with like guilt and the shame, saying, I don't believe you love me. How can you love me without talking to me? He wants to do therapy, but he also says he doesn't believe therapy is working. And what makes me really sad is yesterday I found out that he reached out to a church to seek biblical counseling, but he said that My wife and I, we were advised to do individual therapy from our previous couple therapists because my wife was lying about me with physical abuse, but it was so sad that he didn't see where the counseling was saying, which is we both need individual skills to work on ourselves.
Okay.
So for him, he felt like...
Okay, so we want to help you here, and I see that he's not truthful. He's full of anger and rage, and it's not just at you. Let's start with you, Jill. What are you thinking here?
Well, more than couples counseling, I think this husband needs every man's battle at the very least.
At the least.
I would venture to bet that the pornography has still continued.
Yeah.
He has a pattern of living addictively and not being able to handle his emotions at all. So when you are in an addictive pattern, you stunt yourself emotionally. Therefore, there's a lot of immaturity in him. And I think that needs to be addressed. The fact that he also lost his father fairly young, but father also had addictive issues. So I'm not sure what their relationship was like. But Every Man's Battle addresses those father wounds and gets at what's behind and fueling this addictive behavior that is really a defense against feeling one's true emotions.
Yeah. And I think until he gets help for the pornography, which destroys your ability to be intimate and empathetic, I don't think anything's going to get better. I've never met anybody that had a porn problem that didn't have an anger problem. They just go hand in hand. So, Mylan, what are your thoughts here about what needs to be done?
Sarah, I was very impressed with your ability to describe his patterns that are the larger patterns, as well as your patterns of codependency and caretaking and counseling and being the one to hold it all together. I think your separation, you beautifully said this, that I can think clearer now. And I think your separation is important. I would keep that separation going and perhaps even file a legal separation, because we don't know what someone who is this reactive and impulsive will do with money. And so to protect yourself financially, I would consider the possibility of a legal separation, and then realizing this is a boundary that's a warm one. It is firm, but it says a lot of changes have to take place before I welcome you back in a relationship together.
We'll be back after this.
After I found the pornography on the internet, I said you either get help or I have to leave this household.
Every day, thousands of women discover their husband is struggling with sexual integrity. And since shelter-in-place orders have gone into effect, traffic to porn sites has skyrocketed. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
I believed that I could do it on my own. I just believed if I tried hard enough and pulled myself up hard enough by my bootstraps, I could do it. It was a battle that I'd had all my life. I had to get help.
The Every Man's Battle workshop can be a trip to the sexual addiction emergency room. During this time of social distancing, the Every Man's Battle workshop will be held online Saturday, April 10th. Find sexual integrity, accountability, and connection. Register now to reserve a place at the Every Man's Battle online workshop. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
The single most helpful thing was to realize that I wasn't the weirdest guy on the planet.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEWLIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of 7 books, including Growth Has No Boundaries by Drs. John Townsend and Henry Cloud, Take Your Life Back by Steve Arterburn and Dr. Dave Stoop, and the Emotional Freedom Workbook. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and just a couple of closing comments here, and I am going to send her Every Man's Battle and Every Man's Marriage, both.
Worthy of Her Trust?
Worthy of Her Trust, absolutely. Let's send that instead. That's really good. Jill,
so Sarah, just in summation, you were asking about couples therapy. I don't think it's time for couples therapy. The only thing would be if periodically you needed to be in a safe place to be able to talk, then that might be warranted. But I think that both of you do need to continue in your individual work, and he needs to show that he's willing to address some of these issues. The Every Man's Battle workshop, we were also thinking of perhaps a psychiatric eval because of his extreme behavior. And for you, Sarah, as you're continuing to learn what your role is, the Restore workshop, I think, would be a good place for you as well.
As well as Al-Anon.
Oh, yes, as well as Al-Anon. So I think those things first before introducing the couples work.
I really do believe that this is an addiction. It's just no consequence is reversing the course here, and that's what happens in the case of addiction. It just doesn't get better; it gets worse. So, I hope and pray that the psych eval is the thing that I think would be so beneficial, because there really could be something from a psychiatrist that could really change things there. Very serious. I'm glad you called. Final caller here. Can't go to anyone else, and so sorry. This is Nancy, Tampa, Florida. Hi, Nancy. How are you today?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing okay. How could we help you?
First of all, thank you guys for everything that you've done. I've read several of your books, and this is my second call to you. This time it's about my husband, who suffers from major anxiety, is on anxiety medication, has high blood pressure. He's been struggling for a couple of years about leaving his work. He's 57. We're both 57. His main thing is fear, and his job is getting very stressful. He works 6 days a week. His dream is to go on his own. He's a carpenter, can do about anything. But fear continues to get in the way. And yesterday morning kind of was the breaking point. He's just, he's starting to take things out on me. We get along wonderfully, but I could tell something was really bothering him, and I just sat him down and said, "What's going on?" And this was right before church. And he just broke down, and I said, "What is it?" And he said, "I'm just scared," and then just broke down and cried.
Yeah.
And I said, "What are you afraid of?" And he said, "Is it a financial thing? Because we're going to be okay. We always are. The Lord takes care of us no matter what." And I said, "I think you're looking at too much. You're too overwhelmed with it. Again, it's fear, and the fear is not of the Lord." But then I heard you in another broadcast saying, yes, the Lord does give us fear, and we need to listen to it and learn from it. But I was trying to tell him, take one day at a time and not worry about it so much. But you do have to, at one point, step out in faith and say, "Lord, I've not been happy here." Because I grabbed his hands and said, "Honey, I need you." He's had 3 friends of his personally just kill over from stress and just die from heart attack or stroke. And I said, I don't want that to happen to you.
Okay. Well, Mylon has your question. Go ahead. Let her ask that question. What is the question?
What else can I do for him? Because I feel like even his mom has told him, you just need to do it. Just
So, Nancy, the answer to your question is, I'm going to say this very quickly. The first thing that you did was amazing. You said, sit down, tell me what's going on. I love that. You looked him right in the eyes and said, something's not right. Now, I believe the second thing that you did is not the best solution. You tried to fix it and tell him left brain to left brain what to do. The other option is to empathize with his fear and to have compassion with him. The Bible says mourn with those who mourn and weep with those who weep. It doesn't say give him a lecture. And that's really an important thing to do right there. We fix things later, but the thing we do first is talk to him about the fear. Odds are, Nancy, that he has felt fear his whole life. Fear has probably been an underwriting emotion his entire life. And to have conversations, honey, when did these things begin? What was your early memories of fear? What happened? And to really empathize. And then on top of that, you added this, Nancy, he's been traumatized by 3 friends keeling over.
Yeah.
And then he's turning 57. He's almost 60. And, he's, dealing with age. So, it's the kind of thing that aging is a scary thing, And so I would really listen and empathize rather than fix and talk him out of it and just tell him the Nike swish slogan, just do it. We just,
that's not going to help.
I get what you're trying to do, but empathy is the first important
Right,
step.
you move towards him because he needs to know that you hear and you get how afraid he is. When you try to jump to talking him out of his fear, it's like, oh, you don't get it. So then he's left all alone with his fear. So helping someone with their fear is leaning into it and really making sure you fully understand it, even if you think it's irrational. Right? You're trying to get behind his eyes. And then you can help him look at the fact that he's been afraid his whole life. How has it gone historically? Once he feels understood, he may be able to look back at different times where he's been truly afraid, and yet the worst has not happened.
Right.
So I have to throw this in. We do have this emotional freedom workshop coming up. Very timely. It could maybe just give him the little nudge that he needs because we talk about moving toward the fear, not away from it, living in it and with it, not trying to get out of it, but you resolve it by making it manageable and rather than run from it, always thinking it's worse than it really is. And I can guarantee you what he's afraid of, he views it as something much worse than it really actually is. So I would just offer that up to you also, and I'll send you Take Your Life Back. I hope that would be a good book for him to read. And, man, I just hope and pray something we've said would make a difference. Jill, Mylon, anything else you want to add?
I just admire Nancy because she is willing to wade into what's going on and really get her husband to talk about it. The fact that he could cry in front of her is a big breakthrough.
Yes.
And just to empathize right there. And then I tell everybody, empathize today, fix tomorrow. Create a gap between the two.
All right. Thank you
for Nancy.
Your call. We'll get that to you. Anybody else? Emotional Freedom Workshop coming up 27th of March. In the meantime, if you need help, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If we can help you, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I mentioned earlier that March can really be a depressing time for a lot of people. Understanding and loving a person with depression is our gift to you. A gift of any amount, we will send that to you. What a great gift it is when you finally understand what the person you love has been struggling with and you just couldn't pinpoint what to do. Here's the book for you. Thank you, Mylon. Thank you, Jill. And thanks to all of you who listen, watch, and support and pray for this ministry. If you need help, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. See you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.